On a quiet Thursday morning, a man walked through the glass doors of Sunrise Auto Plaza. He wore worn-out jeans, a gray hoodie, and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. To everyone else, he looked like a regular walk-in customer. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this. That was exactly how he wanted it. No one stopped him. No one recognized him. He walked slowly through the spacious showroom, hands in his pockets, eyes scanning the place he had once built from nothing. The bright showroom lights reflected off polished car hoods. Salesmen in crisp suits buzzed around, shaking hands, laughing loudly and offering brochures. The man, whose name was Daniel Hayes, smiled faintly. He remembered the early days when he worked the lot himself, closing deals with pure honesty and handshake promises. Back then, he didn't have layers of managers and supervisors. Just him, a few used cars, and dreams taller than the lampposts outside. Today, Sunrise Auto Plaza was one of 10 dealerships under his name. But success had built walls between him and the ground level. He stepped past a row of SUVs and stopped near a small coffee station. As he reached for a cup, he heard something that made him freeze. A young salesman, tall with slick back hair, was talking to a nervous-looking couple across the showroom. "This car is a limited edition," the salesman said confidently. "Only 3 left in the entire country. If you don't decide today, it's gone. I'm just being real with you." Daniel narrowed his eyes. He knew that car model well. It was not a limited edition. There were plenty in stock, several parked just behind the building. He took a slow sip of his coffee and watched the couple's faces. They looked unsure, overwhelmed. That's when Daniel knew. It was time to step in. Daniel walked casually toward the cars on display, keeping one ear tuned to the conversation. The young husband looked around the showroom, his hand resting protectively on his wife's back. She clutched her purse tightly and whispered, "Are we doing the right thing?" Her voice trembled. "We're just here to look, but he's rushing us." The salesman leaned in with a wide smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Trust me," he said. "You won't find this deal anywhere else." "And the warranty?" "Top tier. 5 years, bumper to bumper, everything included. No fine print." Daniel's jaw tightened. That was lie number 2. The car came with a standard 3-year limited warranty, unless a customer paid extra for the upgrade. He had designed it that way himself. The salesman tapped a pen against a clipboard. "If you walk out now, I can't hold this price. We've got another buyer coming in 30 minutes. The husband looked confused, but the car was listed online with no mention of that. "It's a flash deal," the salesman insisted. "Very rare." That was the 3rd lie. Daniel had seen enough. He stepped closer and glanced at the vehicle spec sheet like any other curious shopper. "Excuse me," he said casually. "I was actually interested in this same model. Mind if I ask a quick question?" The salesman turned, annoyed by the interruption. "Sir, I'm with clients," he said coldly. "Please see another associate." Daniel smiled, soft and polite. "Won't take long. Just wondering, is this really a limited edition?" The salesman hesitated, then nodded. "Absolutely. Very rare." "And the warranty?" Daniel asked again. "Full coverage. Best in the industry." Daniel reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out a black leather wallet. From it, he removed a simple ID card and held it up. The moment the name on the ID became visible, the air shifted. Daniel Hayes, owner, Sunrise Auto Group. The salesman's face went pale. The young couple's eyes widened in shock. A woman at a nearby desk dropped her pen. For a long second, no one spoke. Daniel looked the salesman in the eye. "Everything you just said," he said quietly, "was false." His voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. "The car isn't a limited edition. We have 15 of them in state inventory. 3 of them are parked out back. The warranty is standard, not full coverage, unless the buyer pays a premium. And there is no other customer coming today to see this car." The salesman opened his mouth, then closed it again. He looked like he wanted to disappear. I didn't mean to. You meant it, Daniel said, cutting him off. And I'm guessing this isn't the first time. A crowd was starting to form. 2 other employees peeked out from behind cubicles. One of them whispered, "Is that really him?" "It's Mr. Hayes," another said. "I've only seen him in pictures." Daniel ignored them. He turned to the young couple. "You'll be getting this vehicle at the actual listed price. No pressure, no manipulation. I'll personally make sure of that." The wife blinked in disbelief. "You're the owner?" "Yes," Daniel said. "And I'm sorry this happened." The husband said, "We just wanted a reliable car. We don't know much about financing or upgrades." "Then we'll walk through it together," Daniel said kindly. "And you'll leave here with peace of mind, not regret." The salesman took a step back. "Sir, You're done," Daniel said. The silence in the showroom was thick. The salesman stood frozen, his eyes darting around for support. But no one moved to defend him. Daniel's voice remained calm but firm. "Pack your things. Turn in your badge. You're no longer employed here." A low gasp came from someone near the reception desk. The salesman stammered, "Mr. Hayes, please. I have a family. I was just trying to close the deal." Daniel didn't flinch. "You don't close deals by lying. This isn't how we do business." The man lowered his head, shame creeping up his neck. Daniel turned to a nearby manager who had cautiously stepped forward. "Clint, escort him out. Make sure he collects his belongings. No drama. And bring me his sales history." Clint nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." The couple stood awkwardly by the car, still processing everything. Daniel softened his tone as he turned back to them. "I apologize. You didn't deserve that. If you're still interested in this vehicle, I'll personally walk you through the process." The husband nodded. "We'd appreciate that. Honestly, we were about to leave. We felt so uncomfortable." Daniel gave a small smile. "Then let's fix it." He guided them to his office. Well, the one that still had his name on the door, even if he hadn't sat there in months. "Take a seat," he said. "Let's start with what you actually need and what your budget looks like." As the couple settled in, Daniel opened a folder and pulled out the real specs on the car. "Here's the actual listing without the fluff. And here's the real financing rate, approved by our preferred bank partners." The wife's eyes welled up. "Thank you. We didn't expect someone to stand up for us." After walking them through the details, Daniel said, "There's no pressure. If you want time to think, take it. A car's a big purchase." The husband looked relieved. "That's exactly what we needed to hear." Daniel smiled. "Then that's what you should always hear here." As they stood to leave, the woman paused. "Can I ask why you were walking around dressed like that? I mean, not like a boss." Daniel chuckled. "Every year, I visit one dealership without telling anyone. I walk in like a regular customer to see how we're really doing." She tilted her head. "Like a mystery shopper, but you own the whole thing?" "Exactly," he said. "Sometimes the truth is easier to find when people think no one's watching." The couple thanked him again and promised to come back the next morning after thinking things over. Daniel walked them to the door and waved them off. Then he turned around to find every eye in the showroom trained on him. Some looked nervous, others ashamed, a few hopeful. He stepped forward and clapped his hands once. "Team meeting. Right now. Conference room." No one hesitated. Within minutes, the staff gathered, salesmen, receptionists, service advisors. Even a janitor with a mop paused to listen. Daniel stood at the front of the room and looked each person in the eye. "This is the first dealership I ever opened," he began. "Back when I couldn't afford even a banner outside. Just me and a few honest folks doing their best. We sold used cars with full hearts." He took a breath and continued. "I didn't build this company with lies. I didn't hustle to reach the top just to watch people trick customers for a few extra dollars in commission." A young salesperson shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Daniel noticed, but didn't call anyone out. What happened out there today should never happen. Not here. Not under my name. He paused. This is your wake-up call. Because if one person lied like that, chances are others have been bending the truth too. No one spoke. I want every team lead to review sales transcripts and contracts from the last 6 months. We'll be reaching out to customers, checking if anyone was misled. If they were, we'll make it right. No exceptions. One of the senior sales associates, a woman named Tanya, raised her hand. Mr. Hayes, can I say something? Of course. Tanya stood. I've been here 7 years. I've always tried to do things the right way. But lately, we've been under a lot of pressure to hit numbers. Some folks started exaggerating features, pushing upgrades. It became normal. Daniel nodded. Thank you for your honesty, she added. I think some of us were afraid to speak up. Daniel said, no more fear. If something feels wrong, say it. I'd rather lose a sale than lose my values. He looked around the room again. From today, we go back to the basics. We sell cars the honest way. You treat people like family, or you don't work here. He walked to the door and added, starting now. The room stayed quiet for a few seconds after Daniel left. Then the whispering began. Some employees were stunned. Others felt relief. A few even clapped quietly. Tanya, the senior sales associate, sat back down and sighed. He's serious, she said to the younger salesman beside her. I haven't seen him like that since the grand opening. The younger man nodded. I didn't even know the owner would ever walk in here like that. I thought he was just a name on the wall. One of the service reps, Manuel, said softly, I think I forgot what this place used to stand for. In his office, Daniel sat down alone for the first time in hours. He rubbed his temples and stared at the framed photo on the shelf. An old picture of him standing in front of the first car he ever sold. The photo reminded him of everything. The struggle, the cold mornings, the door-to-door flyers, the handshake deals with customers who trusted him without question. That kind of trust was sacred, and it was slipping away. He picked up his phone and dialed his regional manager. Nora, he said when she answered. I want a meeting with all dealership managers. Emergency call-in. Virtual or in person. Tomorrow morning. All 10 locations. Nora asked. Yes. I want to talk to everyone. I don't care if they're on vacation. Tell them it's about the soul of our company. Nora heard the steel in his voice and didn't argue. You got it, Daniel. After hanging up, he sat back and stared out the office window. Below, he could see the young couple's car pulling out of the lot. They hadn't even bought the car yet, but they looked happy. That meant more to him than 1,000 signed contracts. By the next morning, word had spread. The video taken by the couple had gone viral overnight. They had posted it on social media with the caption, When the dealership owner shows up undercover and saves you from a scam. Faith in humanity restored. The clip showed the moment Daniel revealed his identity, the shock on the salesman's face, and the quiet grace with which he handled the situation. Thousands of comments poured in. People praised Daniel's integrity. Others shared their own horror stories about pushy dealerships. Some even said they wished more business owners did what he had done. At 8 a.m. sharp, Daniel joined the virtual call with managers from all 10 of his dealerships. Faces filled the screen. Some curious, others worried. Morning, he began. Let's not waste time. What I'm about to say matters more than any sales number you'll hit this quarter. He shared what happened the day before in full detail. What the salesman had said, how the couple reacted, and how the lie had gone unchecked until he stepped in. The room went silent on every screen. If it can happen in our flagship store, Daniel said, it can happen anywhere. One manager, Terrence from the northern location, spoke up. Sir, I'll be honest. I think some of our staff are under pressure to hit targets, and they've been stretching the truth. Then the pressure stops today, Daniel replied firmly. Any manager caught encouraging dishonest tactics will be removed. A younger manager, Priya, said, What about those who've been doing it quietly? We don't always see it. Daniel responded, start listening. Start reviewing deals. Watch how they talk to customers. The truth leaves traces. So do lies. The meeting went on for over an hour. Daniel laid out new policies, transparency standards, random customer interviews, and unannounced audits. We're not going to scare people, he said. We're going to lead them back to what matters. This company was built on trust. Let's not bury it under bonuses and deadlines. By the end of the call, several managers privately messaged Nora, thanking her for setting it up. He's a real one, one wrote. Reminded me why I joined in the first place. After logging off, Daniel headed to the service department. He wanted to speak with the technicians too. They weren't in sales, but they were part of the customer experience. As he walked through the service bays, mechanics straightened up and greeted him respectfully. Good morning, sir, said Jorge, a longtime technician. Haven't seen you in years. Daniel smiled. That's on me. I've been behind a desk too long. Jorge nodded. Heard about yesterday. Word travels fast. Daniel chuckled. Does it ever? He looked around the bays, admiring the organized tools, the clean floors, the busy but focused team. You all doing okay? He asked. A few nodded. One younger mechanic, Heather, hesitated. Can I be honest, sir? Always, Daniel said. Some customers come in thinking we're out to get them. They're already suspicious before we even speak. Daniel's expression sobered. That's not your fault. It's the reputation of the industry. And maybe we haven't done enough to change that. Heather wiped her hands on a cloth and said, I just want to fix cars, sir. I don't want people thinking I'm part of a scam because of what someone in sales did. Daniel nodded. I hear you. And I promise we're turning that around. Not with PR, with actions. Jorge stepped forward. What can we do to help? Daniel smiled at him. Simple. Keep doing your job with pride. Be honest when you explain repairs. And if you ever see someone treating a customer wrong, speak up. He clapped Jorge on the shoulder. You've been here since the start. You know what this place is supposed to be. Jorge grinned. Back when we didn't even have an espresso machine in the lobby. Exactly, Daniel said with a laugh. He walked out of the service, bay feeling lighter. For the first time in a while, he felt like he was back in the heart of his business. Not just a face on a billboard or a name in a contract. That afternoon, the couple returned. They walked in holding hands, smiling. Daniel met them personally and guided them through the paperwork. No upselling. No tricks. Just straight facts, a fair loan, and a clean deal. When he handed them the keys, the husband said, You didn't just sell us a car, Mr. Hayes. You changed how we see people in this business. Daniel shook his hand. That means more to me than any sale ever will. After the couple drove off, Daniel stood by the glass doors and watched their car disappear into traffic. It wasn't just about one sale. It was about restoring something much bigger. Trust. He turned and looked around the showroom, taking in every detail. The banners. The slick posters advertising year-end blowouts. The smiling faces of sales reps who now looked more thoughtful than before. It wasn't lost on him how quickly a company could drift from its roots. Not from evil intentions, but from small compromises, one after another. He had seen it before. And now, it had nearly cost him the soul of his company. Tanya approached him later that day with a folder in her hands. I thought you'd want to see this, she said. I pulled some recent sales records. There are some patterns. Daniel took the folder and opened it. The numbers spoke for themselves. Several newer salespeople had been pushing unnecessary add-ons, marking up financing rates and writing confusing contracts. How long has this been going on? He asked. Hard to say, she admitted, but long enough that it became normal. He sighed. Then we're going to make it unnormal. He thanked her and asked her to join the new internal ethics board he was forming. We need people who aren't afraid to speak up, he said. I'd be honored, she replied. That night, Daniel drove home with the windows down and the radio off. His thoughts were loud enough. How had he let things slip this far? Was growth worth it if it cost him the very values he started with? But underneath the worry, there was also hope. Because the truth had come out and people were listening. The next morning started early. Daniel arrived at the dealership before most of the staff. The security guard looked surprised as he unlocked the front doors. "Mr. Hayes, you're here before the lights." Daniel smiled. Felt like getting back to my roots. He walked through the quiet showroom and into the staff kitchen. The coffee machine hissed as he brewed a fresh pot, just like he used to. One by one, employees arrived. Some did double takes. Others smiled cautiously. "He's still here," one whispered. "Is he watching us?" asked another. "I hope so," a third replied. "He saved that couple yesterday." Around 9:30, he gathered everyone again. "We're not here to shame or punish," he began. "We're here to rebuild. Together." He introduced a new system, a customer follow-up survey that asked one core question. Did you feel respected and informed? No gimmicks, just feedback. If a customer answers no, we call them and fix it. Period. A murmur of surprise went around the room. "Is that really necessary?" someone asked. "It is now," Daniel said, "because your reputation walks out the door with every customer." He then shared a story from years ago about an elderly woman who trusted him with her entire savings to buy a used car. That trust still fuels this place. "I want every customer treated like she was your grandmother." One technician raised his hand. "What if a customer's rude?" Daniel smiled. "Be kind anyway, because how you act is what they'll remember, not how they did." As the meeting wrapped up, the mood had shifted. People were no longer defensive. They were ready to do better. Later that week, Daniel drove to one of the other dealerships, this time as himself. The manager there, Priya, greeted him at the door with a tablet in hand. "We've already started reviewing contracts," she said proudly, "and we adjusted our scripts." "Scripts?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Yes," she said quickly, "just the intro ones. But we removed any pressure words. No more act now or lose it." Daniel smiled. "That's a good start." She walked him around the showroom, showing how they'd updated signage too. "More focus on transparency," she explained. "Even the finance office has an open-door policy now." As they passed a desk, a customer stood and said, "You're the guy from the video." Daniel chuckled. "I guess I am." The man extended a hand. "Respect." Most bosses would hide behind a PR team. You faced it head-on. "Thank you," Daniel replied, shaking his hand. "I just believe in fixing problems from the inside." After the customer walked away, Priya whispered, "That's been happening all week." "What has?" "Customers coming in just to meet you. Some drive from other cities. They say they want to buy from someone who actually cares." Daniel was humbled. He never sought fame, just integrity. That evening, he sent an internal memo to all locations. "This isn't about me. It's about us. Let's become the dealership people believe in again." The following Monday brought another surprise. Nora, his regional manager, stepped into his office with a nervous look. "You're getting media requests," she said, handing over a stack of printed emails. "Local news, 2 business magazines, even a national finance blog. They want interviews." Daniel groaned. "That wasn't the point." "I know," Nora said, "but people are hungry for stories like this." He leaned back in his chair. "If I do this, I'll make it clear. It's not about catching liars. It's about building honest businesses." Nora smiled. "That's exactly why they want to talk to you." After thinking it over, Daniel agreed to one interview with a local TV station. The journalist arrived that Thursday, camera crew in tow. She shook his hand and said, "Everyone's calling you the undercover boss with a conscience." "That's flattering," he said, "but I'm just a man who got tired of looking the other way." They filmed in the showroom, then in his office. The reporter asked, Why go undercover at all? Daniel replied, because I wanted the truth. And the truth doesn't always show up when you walk in wearing a suit. The interview aired that night. It showed footage from the viral video, included interviews with the young couple, and ended with Daniel saying, "Integrity isn't optional. It's the foundation. Without it, success means nothing." The response was overwhelming. Emails poured in. So did job applications. People wanted to work for a company that stood for something. And for the first time in years, Daniel felt like he wasn't just running a business. He was leading a movement. In the days that followed, something unexpected began to happen. Customers returned, some who hadn't been to the dealership in years. A retired teacher named Mrs. Calloway walked in with her granddaughter. "I bought my first car from you in '98, she told Daniel. "You helped me when no one else would. I knew you'd find your way back." Her words hit him deeply. He smiled and said, "Let's find your granddaughter something safe and stylish." Across the showroom, employees moved with more confidence. Even the youngest ones now introduced themselves with warmth, not pressure. "We're here to help, not hustle," one of them said proudly to a customer. Daniel walked past a group of new hires sitting in training. The HR rep glanced at him nervously. "Would you like to say something?" she asked. Daniel stepped forward. "I only have one rule," he said. "Be the kind of person your customer would trust with their last dollar. If you can do that, you'll succeed here." A young trainee raised her hand. "What if we make mistakes?" "Own them," Daniel said. "Fix them. And don't hide them." By the end of the week, Daniel had visited 4 locations. Each had started implementing the new culture. He saw suggestion boxes filled, break rooms buzzing with conversations about ethics, and managers sitting beside junior staff instead of above them. The entire company was shifting, and it all began with one lie, one moment, and one decision to not walk away. The transformation didn't stop at the showroom floor. Daniel asked Nora to schedule monthly town hall meetings across all 10 dealerships. No scripts, no flashy presentations, just open conversations with staff. "If we're going to rebuild this culture," he told her, "everyone must feel heard." The first meeting was held at the Riverbend branch. Employees gathered in the service bay, some still in uniform, others on break. Daniel stood in front of them on a makeshift platform and spoke plainly. "I'm not here to talk numbers today. I'm here to listen." A young receptionist, Jamie, raised her hand. "Sometimes we're told to rush people through paperwork, even if they have questions. It makes me uncomfortable." Daniel nodded. "No more rushing. Every customer should feel safe to ask anything." A service tech added, "Some customers treat us like crooks the moment they walk in. It's hard to stay kind." "That's why we're changing the reputation," Daniel replied. "And that takes time, but we'll do it together." The session lasted 2 hours. At the end, Daniel shook every hand, thanked everyone, and left behind a new slogan pinned to the wall: "We sell trust first." At the next dealership visit, Daniel arrived early and sat silently in the customer lounge. He watched interactions from a distance, salesmen greeting people with genuine smiles, offering honest answers. A woman beside him turned and said, "It's different here." He looked over. "How do you mean?" "They don't talk down to you. They listen." She smiled. "I read about the owner stepping in to stop a lie. That's why I came here." Daniel smiled back. "Glad you did." Before leaving, he spoke privately with the manager. "Your team's doing well. You've set the tone right." The manager beamed. "We remind ourselves daily, the goal isn't just selling cars, it's keeping people's respect." Meanwhile, the viral video kept spreading. Requests poured in for Daniel to speak at business schools and ethics forums. He declined most. "This isn't a campaign," he told Nora. "It's a correction." But he did accept one invitation from a small college in the town where he grew up. He stood on stage in front of students and said, When I sold my first car, I didn't dream of owning a chain of dealerships. I dreamed of feeding my family with honest work. And that dream still guides me. Back at headquarters, Nora entered Daniel's office one afternoon with a grin. We just crossed a milestone, she said. Our customer satisfaction scores are the highest in 5 years. Daniel smiled. That's good to hear. There's more, she said, handing him a folder. Resumes from some top salespeople around the state. They want in. They've heard we do things differently. Daniel flipped through them. Impressive. Let's interview, but only if they align with our values. Nora nodded. Already made that the first question. Daniel stood by the window and stared out at the employee lot. He no longer saw rows of cars. He saw people, hardworking people, some single parents, some recent grads, some rebuilding after life knocked them down. And every one of them deserved a company that backed them up the right way. He thought about the couple who unknowingly sparked this whole shift. He wondered if they knew how far the impact had gone. A week later, the young couple, Jared and Talia, walked into the showroom again, this time holding a car seat. Daniel spotted them immediately and walked over, surprised. You came back, he said warmly. Talia smiled. We wanted to introduce you to someone. She turned the car seat slightly so he could see the tiny baby sleeping inside. This is Micah, Jared added. We brought him home in the car you helped us get. Daniel crouched down and looked at the peaceful child. He's beautiful. Congratulations. Talia looked emotional. That day changed everything for us. We were so close to making a bad choice we couldn't afford. But your honesty gave us a fresh start. Jared added. Micah's going to grow up hearing about how his first car ride came from a place of honesty. Daniel felt a lump in his throat. Thank you for coming back. That means the world to me. They took a picture together in front of the car, the keys still hanging from Jared's belt loop. Later that night, Daniel saved that photo to his phone's wallpaper. The following month, Daniel wrote a letter. Not for media, not for press, just for his employees. It was titled, The Promise. It read, To every member of this team, I started this business to make an honest living. Along the way, I may have become too distant, but I never stopped believing in the power of doing what's right. That's our promise to the customers. That's our promise to each other. We will never trade truth for profit again. If we succeed, it will be because people trust us. And if we fail, it won't be because we lost our way. Daniel Hayes. He had it printed, framed, and hung in the entrance of every dealership. Below it, the new slogan, We sell trust first. Customers began noticing. Some took pictures beside it. Others shared it on social media. Finally, one caption read, A place that values honesty over hustle. Months passed. Daniel kept up his unannounced visits, sometimes as himself, sometimes still in disguise. But now, even when no one recognized him, he didn't overhear pressure tactics. Instead, he heard things like, take your time, and let's make sure you're comfortable. He sat in a waiting room once and listened to a young salesman patiently explain financing to an elderly man for the third time without a hint of annoyance. When the older customer left, Daniel pulled the salesman aside. What's your name? Kevin, the young man said. You handled that beautifully, Kevin. Thanks, Kevin said, smiling. Honestly, it's the way we're trained now. Daniel nodded. Keep leading by example. Kevin blinked. You're him, aren't you? Daniel winked and walked away. At the annual company dinner, Daniel stood before a crowd of nearly 600 employees. The room buzzed with laughter, music, and a sense of renewed pride. When it was time for speeches, he walked to the mic with no script. This has been a year of truth, he said. We saw where we were slipping, and we chose to fix it, not bury it. Applause broke out. I want to thank those of you who had the courage to speak up. You helped rebuild something special. And for those just joining us, Welcome to a team where integrity isn't optional. He raised his glass. To trust. To second chances. To doing better. The entire room lifted glasses and echoed back. To doing better. That night, the employees left with gift bags. Inside each one was a handwritten note from Daniel. Thank you for making honesty our best product. In the spring, Sunrise Auto Group received an unexpected honor, an ethics award from the National Small Business Association. The organization cited Daniel's leadership and transparency as a gold standard for customer trust. Daniel almost declined the award. I'm not interested in trophies, he told Nora, but she convinced him to accept, not for himself, but for the team. On stage, he said simply, we're not perfect, but we try, and sometimes trying is the first honest thing a company can do. The award hung in the lobby near the framed promise. People walked in and pointed at it. This place really is different, one customer whispered to another. Employees smiled when they overheard it. They had earned that reputation. One quiet afternoon, Daniel visited the very first lot he'd ever owned. The now retired space where it all began. It was no longer a dealership, just an empty lot with cracked pavement and faded paint lines. He stood there alone, hands in his pockets, taking in the silence. A few wildflowers had grown through the cracks. He smiled. Still growing, he whispered. He pulled out his phone and snapped a photo. Then he sent it to Nora with a message. Never forget where we started. Later that evening, he updated the company homepage. A new banner stretched across the top. Honesty is the road we take. Every time. Daniel never stopped walking the floor. Never stopped listening. Never stopped caring. Years from that first undercover moment, Sunrise Auto Group wasn't just known for good prices. It was known for trust, for fairness, for stories like Jared and Talia's, for stories that never made the news but made people feel safe. And the truth? That was the real product Daniel sold. Because in a world full of noise, he had chosen to stand for something quiet, something steady. And sometimes the loudest legacy is built one honest word at a time.